business meeting here in Allen Way. And then Alan has a program. I think it's 3 or 4 hours long. He said. 5. So dinner may be late. So anyhow, he'll have his program here next. He had a short program, and all of you may be very interested because of the unique thing he uncovered. And in fact, the Historical Society has already made some decisions on what to do. So he'll give a brief report on that or whatever, or however long, and I'm sure he'll take questions from anybody. And then we'll have our lunch. So I guess the first thing we need to do is any additions or corrections to the minutes that you receive either in the tracer or through the mail or whatever. Your motion approved. Okay, Roger, motion, second. Okay, it's been moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Then we have our treasurer's report. And do you have any?
That we used for 2025. And then we had 3 new members. This is a photo, Trisha Barhower and Ethan Joe Martin.
Okay.
And then we just, the expense we had was newsletter postage.
That's great. I do know Keith and Jill, that they've been to several of our activities, so that's great. They became members.
We accept the treasurer's report is given.
Okay, second? Okay. Been moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. Let's see. We got a few things here on the agenda. And you may want to mention this first one here, Tom, because you have here about, has anyone watched the IGS Facebook Live?
I made a few copies, but, I can show it. I got it up the street.
Okay. I think that was even in the tracing, wasn't it?
No,
Oh, okay.
can you read that?
Didn't everyone see it? This, if you read that first paragraph there, it talks about him. Do you know any more about it there, Tom?
Sorry, about what?
That first paragraph there, Facebook Live talk to.
Oh, actually, I guess I did have that in the, let's see, no, that was this week. You can watch it and previous ones, online on YouTube. But I guess the question is, that would be a way of promoting our society, by having a wider audience. Either, I guess that, thought either the Historical Society or Genealogy Society would do that.
Now we have, the Historical Society has Facebook.
Yeah, but this is a Zoom meeting where someone representing that group will talk about their activities, what they have. And so I just recommend not to make a decision today, but to get online and watch some of those previous ones to see what they talk about and how that would apply to Wells counties.
Now, one question I had was is there a possibility if we found one on there that would be interesting to the group that we could show it here at a meeting? Or not?
Could, but I don't know whether it'd be something we'd want to watch. Oh, in terms of making a decision for ourselves, maybe. But just to watch some other group. I don't know whether that'd be that entertaining or informative.
Okay. Any other question?
So if you go to Northwest Indiana Genealogical Society,
That's their.
He's asking for our.
or is it?
Yeah, that was one that. Yeah, that was the one this week.
Okay.
Um, yeah, there's been one, a lot of them are historical societies of different counties. The previous one I watched was Northwest Indiana, which was the two counties together. There is one for the Marion County Genealogical Society.
The next one there was, Tom was wondering if there was no objection. He will have a table representing Wells County Genealogy Society at Indiana Genealogy Society Conference. And that's at, what was that, the Allen County?
Yeah.
Allen County Public Library, 11/12. And he said the last presence was when the Orange was going to Indianapolis. And he just basically would like, he's gonna go, but he'd like, it was all okay to have a table up there representing. So,
There's a couple of us were there last year. It's really interesting. I think everyone could get a lot out of the programs that they have. It's a 2-day affair. And then they have their annual business meeting on Saturday, a part of the day. The membership is like $40. I don't know. I didn't prep to check that. You check on, yeah, I would say check online to see whether you're interested in it. Just go to the Indiana Genealogical Society. Oh, previous years we took the books down, past newsletters. That was quite a few years ago when Ormsby's were going down, and I invited myself along the one year, and then I went myself. I think the year later, they were doing that. That's when they were meeting in Indianapolis at the state library, I think it was. And that time they had quite a few different displays and organizations that were represented. Last year it was probably half a dozen. There's Allen County Genealogical Society was there in the one corner, and a group on adoptions were there. But again, it's just a chance to get us out there in the public and maybe new memberships and sell books.
I'm like Connie, if you're willing to do that, I would love to do it myself. We're gonna be on the north side of Chicago, wedding. So. Probably used to be the weatherman here.
Yeah.
Victor.
You are targeting people that have the same interests as you. So it's not like setting up in a mall, you know, getting all kinds of people that maybe or may not be interested.
So there's no objections, it's all right for me to, I feel
Everybody
anxious.
feel safe, okay?
I guess I'm just feeling anxious. I haven't
Yeah.
asked for a table yet.
He mentioned here was, did anybody watch the Roots Tech last week? Anybody? I didn't either, so. Also think he brought up the next one was he brought up a good mention about our handbook because we haven't done one since 2020. And after we get the constitutional revisions done, I guess I would say that we need to do a new handbook, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, if you get good editor.
The one that's always retired still hears.
Well, the incompetent one that can't produce a handbook or a membership directory.
But I use that a lot because if I had somebody to contact, I say to go to the contact. That's kind of the problem now because we really don't have a list any longer. And I think if we don't do a handbook, we ought to at least do a list to get her a member. So if they need to talk to someone else, can in the committee.
You would have the address and just phone numbers or phone.
I think my personal opinion is I'd leave that up to the individuals here, what they want. I have no problem having my phone number and my email. And that's not a problem. I get enough prank calls the way it is.
Actually, it's in the Constitution. What's required in the handbook was a list of officers, the schedule for the year, the Constitution, members' names and contact information, and then the surnames that they're working on. We had a vote several years ago to not include the handbook because the additional cost of producing one. And the motion was made to put it online. That's where it is now. It's on my newsletter supplement page. There's a line to click on. And so what I produced last was the list of members and addresses, and then a list of surnames that everyone's looking on. And that was just produced with a sheet, 8.5 by 11 sheets and stapled and distributed.
Which, quite a few concerned that would be good enough. I mean, we don't have to go through the fancy handbook. I mean, these are sometimes just handy. That would be my opinion. We want just good. But I think it would help all of us. My personal opinion just by having this members. You know, their contact information. I called Tom this morning, and I got the thing in the bed last night. Oh, no, was I supposed to worry about having to meet this morning? And I better get a hold of him, see if he knows anything about it. Thanks to him and thanks to you ladies, it was all taken care of, he said. So I appreciate that, because I was thought, wait, that's something I was supposed to do. I can smell there's some there, so some heat here. And looks at the refrigerator there when I got it a little bit. Tom had plenty of drinks for all of us. So is there interest in trying to do some type of handbook at some point in time here this year? Okay, I take that. The next one was, that he had down here was, the interest in a field trip that he mentioned in the state library or Indiana State Archives and the location. And what's your messages there for him?
I proposed that and issue January
Oh,
2024
okay.
issue. And then I noticed yesterday out here in the lobby, you could get a card for free passes. They don't have either one of those. I think it's Indiana State Museum. They've got passes for 4 people. And all these other different places to go that the library provides.
Yeah. So you can make it a day out or whatever if you want to.
Cindy arranged a trip to the Allen County Public Library, and that was really interesting. We had a tour that shows all their resources that they have. It wasn't very well attended. And so I'm not sure how many want to make a trip to Indianapolis when we didn't have that many to go to Fort Wayne.
I would say, now that's my personal opinion, let's give that some thought. Because I think we probably, looking at all our ages, probably just as soon go when the weather was a little nicer. Everything, so you know, we might be looking at the early part of summer or whatever. But if there's no interest in it, that's fine. Any opinion on
That's just if you're finding all
it? I'm good myself. I guarantee you, I wouldn't go down there without the key.
There's not too many teenage genealogists.
Exactly. And I'm afraid, Alan, just even look at my own family, I'm not so sure that we may be the last of them. Because I got a family that's not terribly interested in that. Now, you know, granted, maybe once they're older and married, well, I shouldn't say that, they are older. And they've been married for several years. So. And you know, and I didn't really work at it as hard back then either, when he was working. Keep that in mind. This was the possible constitutional revisions, and by the way, does anyone have that list yet of who's on the Constitution? Do you know?
Yeah, I've got a list on computer, but it's myself. Let's see if I do it in order. Lynn, myself, Connie. Um,
I think I was on there, wasn't it?
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Jerry also. Cammy was in, yeah.
Okay.
Everybody else remembers better than I do. Yeah, and so I sent an email to everyone, including the one
So
that forgot.
I guess my feeling is we need or like to see that get together. Because we put this off, postponed long enough, let's try and get together in the next 2 months. To where then we can have the new one approved or disapproved at our next meeting. And if all of you that aren't on there would happen to think of something that needs to be changed or whatever. Because we had it, we went all through it, done it once, and so I'm not thinking. Well, yeah, I don't think it's gonna take too much problem changes. But we need to do it and get one finalized. The day and the time, which, yes. And I have that, although I lucked out this year and my granddaughter was on the dance team. She state finals was last week, and so she's done with dance. I got a grandson, Rasmus, and he will be done on Wednesday. The section will be on Wednesday. So, and he does wrestle Saturday some, but it happened to be when we didn't have a meeting. So really, when you look, if it's people that's got grandkids, I'm not sure what day is it better. Because a lot of those activities, basketball games, girls and boys, wrestling, everything else takes place during the week too. So I don't know, if we give up Saturday, because then if we got anybody on Genealogy Society that's working yet, that's kind of a problem too. So I'm just talking to myself. Go ahead.
Claire and I have been at this 25 years. You're never gonna find a date.
Right.
It's been Saturday, 25 years.
Right.
I see no need to change it because it doesn't matter. Just say, doesn't matter which day. I work on Tuesdays, so don't do anything on Tuesday. That's me. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess,
My recommendation,
I guess that would be my feeling too.
my
Brian.
motion, I guess.
Main one was the election that would be time sensitive to do it for this year's. But yeah, I agree with Connie that my Fellowship of Brethren Genealogists has an annual meeting at conference. And wanting to change that, the schedule's so full that it has to be before the conference actually starts, and we can't move it anywhere else. So we don't have a choice when it to be another time. Ice, noise.
So basically, we just need to go in there and change it. Yeah.
I have a draft from the notes from, that last November's meeting.
Mhm.
I don't know if I sent that to,
I think I got one too. Or actually, I wanted, I wrote, it. I know we had it. But I'd like to get that taken care of this year as soon as possible, so we at least have one, and then I need to the nominating committee to meet and have our slate of officers for, when is that, the November meeting? November meeting. So you need to, and all I'm asking on that is ask people, make sure they'll, we're always open for open nomination meeting, but make sure the ones you nominate, you've asked ahead of time and say, well, yeah, he's willing to do it. She's willing to do it. Because we hate to put somebody on lists that don't really want the job. Since it pays well for Tom and I here.
I guess that was it. Another change was nominating committee and the schedule, that how much notice you need. Would it be helpful for everybody to know what's going on, for me to send Constitution to everybody, not just committee?
Sounds like a good idea. The other thing is we, if Tom had mentioned too, we need to, if we need to figure out a way here to electronic, they will allow members to vote if they want to.
So Barbara or Kathleen, you want to make any comments?
To get a reply.
Yeah, that can't hear the others in the room except.
Oh,
You and I.
oh, okay. I'll try and, I forgot about that. Try and speak up, I guess. Everybody's so quiet here. She probably figures there's nobody here.
Anybody object to seeing who's?
Kathleen?
Oh, she's.
The meeting's on smoothly and there's no fighting, so that's the reason everybody's quiet. They're all getting hungry. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So is there any other,
Kathleen says it's, oh.
Go ahead.
You can read that. As far as voting, it would be okay with me, what others think.
okay. Okay.
Handbook. That could be emailed. And for anybody that provides an email address, if they want a hard copy, then you could put a fee on that to cover the cost of printing those out. And then it could be almost nothing to be able to distribute that out for the thing.
Right. And that's a good idea.
Pretty just a membership directory, the cost is minimal, so it would be a problem for you. But I like your idea of sending an email.
But actually getting emails, I always print mine off anyhow. Tom still sends me one, but I always print my one off at home.
Well, we published it, we attached it to the newsletter and mailed it to the newsletter, so everybody got that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
When we approved the last bylaws, we mailed a copy of it in the newsletter, so everybody gets a copy of that. Either electronically or with an email on the newsletter.
And I take it like these two that are on, they get that also, the newsletter. Okay.
So everybody will get it, not like you have to have other than postage.
Yeah. Okay. Any other business? Go ahead.
I just finished a while. Susan is writing the S. She's got about halfway done. I'm gonna go ahead and header that. If I can do that at home, I don't have to have a microfilm to do that. And then as soon as I'm done with that, I'll catch up with her, and whatever she doesn't have done, I'll take the microfilm and do a direct entry on that. So we're almost done with the deed book as far as getting everything entered. But what do we want to do with it once we finish it? Do we want to, I guess there's some options. Are we going to print a book? We need to get some estimates on printing. Or do we want to have it as a PDF that we provide to people for a cost? Or do we just give it away to the libraries, Indiana Genealogy Society, who would want this deed book? Or copy of it, extra?
Go ahead.
No, I'm talking to the people that were involved with the first volume. You've sold it,
So
the libraries received it.
I don't remember exactly how many. You had.
I'm just, it's not something you use a lot of, but it is handy
it is.
when you, and I noticed, I used it. The last time I used it was on our cemetery walk out there when it was at Murphy. Because I needed to find out where the land was that my ancestor was. There around Murray, and I went in there. And I found the location. And so it really, and it also had in there, where it came from, which I hadn't found. So it, even though it's not always used, it does come in handy.
I think it's I don't know if you can all over the first one, but it's T-U. Okay. It's this O through Y, O through Y. Together, a summary of how many sheets, how many pages, and that sort of thing, but you have a relatively long one. So how do we go about getting the cost? You want to talk to them by getting information or what?
Get the information to be able to, or, I mean, they're ready, but you don't want them to. But she has published a lot of books for us. And I am all in favor of publishing, not one line, not any of that stuff. Because not down there at the courthouse, and I went there talking, they say, you take me over and over and over and over and over that.
When I went in, yes. But when I went in and looked up some stuff, the thing that were to next, they have it all indexed on the computer now, so they don't.
No, you use the book.
But if the computer's not available.
Yes.
Well, it's,
But, I mean,
the book, you're right, it's handy.
I'll
Even though I'm-
have all these computers that do all this stuff, you put it on now, is it gonna be down the road?
So, I enjoy the book, but then but also, do a lot of things on the computer, so you kind of need both.
On cost of $35. Now that's been a long time.
Oh, yeah, that was 10, 12 years ago.
We sold them for 50.
Did, I haven't gained it up, but we got rid of all of the others. And we,
Now, I,
The last I saw, it's been a couple of years ago, was downstairs, there's part of a case left, like 3 or 4 copies,
Yeah.
which would be probably more of a demand. Once you publish a second volume, people would like to have the first one then that didn't have one.
Now, is that the one that you also had disc?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you could get the disc with it. Yeah. Which I got both, but they wrote to us, I had to use the book instead of the disc, so. Well, if you'll do that for me,
Oh, you're saying something that's that last summer.
then we-
The seniors, something or other out there.
That's coming up in May.
We ship them everywhere. And I mean everywhere, Arizona, California.
well, they are handy.
We still have it. The order form includes those.
If you would do that, Bonnie, and check, so we can get an idea of the cost, and that way we can make a decision on how we want to do it.
What exactly like the old.
I should say yes.
Yeah.
I have a summary of pages, but I could, in this report, and that's exactly what was in the book, just. Yeah.
Do you want the same information in front of the book and we put?
And that's a really next of the links. So. Pages of names to that. I'll put the information together, I'll come on Tuesday, take a look. Kind of determine if it's close enough that she can give us a price based on the. Yeah. Okay. Great. Glad to have this almost caught my.
Yeah.
It's just.
You ready for vacation,
Oh,
actually?
my God, I've been looking at it. Get it done, it's not my plate, so that you move on. And you want to kind of recap.
You what?
They probably couldn't hear.
Can't hear you either. It's all people.
I don't know where I need to be.
Well, you got a report.
The deed book, the second one is ready to come out, or it's ready to be printed. And Connie Brubaker had, she knew somebody that done the last one, and she's gonna get the cost for us. See what it costs to get that done. I think we're all in agreement that we need to have one printed. Because that's what most everybody's using, yes, this time. I don't know if you heard that or not, hopefully.
Yes, we did. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And that's like-
Was there any other business? Yeah, Lynn?
I would like to ask the Genealogy Society to pay half of a chamber annual membership. Half of a membership would be $72.50. And I think that the Genealogy Society does have a lot of good things that the chamber does do for us.
Kathleen, you're saying there you had the A through N? And that was the first one. We're working on the second.
Yeah, I have the first one.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you. I've got my volume all turned all the way up and
While he's working on that,
Paper house,
Okay, and by the way, I think the other half is being paid for the historic society. Yeah, but I think, yeah, I think it is. We talked about it. So, we got a motion to pay half, we got a second? Second, okay, so, all those 75 something.
$72.
72. Yeah. All those in favor of doing that, signify by saying aye. Those opposed say, all right, thanks. Do you have any others?
There
The what?
we go. Cemetery wall.
Not other than what we had last meeting, as far as I know.
So the date is,
we have a meeting, Monday morning, 9 o'clock, here at the library. And, has very generously contributed a lot of the history of the old Bluffton Cemetery. And he has also provided a lot of information about the people buried there. So we will be, the cemetery walk is always the first Sunday in October at 2 o'clock, and that will remain that way this year. We will be choosing the people that we want to highlight that's buried in the cemetery or that has been buried in the cemetery. So kind of be thinking about if there's, you know, an ancestor or something that you want represented or whatever that would be buried there, you can let us know. It really is a very historic cemetery with the number of years that it had been there. A lot of the bodies had been moved as the newer cemeteries were formed, and families decided that they wanted the whole family to be moved. So that's why the cemetery is not walkable, but the way that we do our walks now, that isn't an issue. We don't have an issue with bathrooms or walking in the cemetery or parking or any of that kind of stuff. I know it kind of takes away from the walk part of it, but this year will be a little different in that we probably will not be highlighting a town.
Okay.
We might have something about early Bluffton, but mainly it will be just about the cemetery. But after Monday, I can tell you a little more.
Thinking that, if I lost my train of thought, I'm just talking there about that. I think it's worked very good. I don't know if anyone here, I know the last time there was some talk, I was approached by several people from the southern part of the county and about having one there, and I'm hoping that we can do that next year. Because, but this was all kind of already set up, so that's the reason we're doing it. I'm hoping we can do that on the
This cemetery.
I don't know, I haven't even thought about it, but yeah. But I mean, it would, and, you know, I'd like to find out from some southern most people which one they like. You know, one of the biggest ones I would say is Boston. A lot of people in there, and a lot of, I got relatives in there. Yeah. So. If there's no other business, let's end our business. We'll end our business meeting, go in and leave out on that. And If somebody gets too hungry, I guess you'll just have to go up there and get some if he goes on to whatever. But we'll have Alan, I think, and like I said, we think it's a good idea to bring him after what the year he had to talk about here.
We need to move to.
Adjourn.
In the meeting,
Go ahead.
so move.
Okay. Those approved, say you want to say aye. Those opposed, say. I'll get over here out of the way. Now we can bring up the speed here, what he's got.
Okay, I will try to keep this short, I was told to actually do that, and the big spelling a lot better than I do, so. Gonna make this brief, and it's kind of good, some news and some old news and good new news working together. First of all, when I was first asked, first thing that came to mind, they asked me about saying a little something about what it was like for the very earliest pioneer. And the first thing that came to mind was some that I was related to, because I just been doing research and found that the same week. And my great-great-grandfather, John Daugherty, had a sister, and her name was Elizabeth, spelled with 3 E's, and she married a root and they moved to Wells County first for a short period of time, and then found land that they purchased in Adams County, spent the rest of their life there. Became very involved in politics, and some of it is hilarious, some of it is very high end, and did well. Elizabeth Daugherty Ruperight's husband died badly because he got hit by a steam locomotive. So I don't know, maybe that's not so bad. It's better than cancer, at least it's fast. So anyhow, when they came, I do know that they came in wagons with 2 families, but I don't know who the other family was. I always hoped it was mine, but I know it wasn't because they were years apart, about 15 years apart, coming to Wells County. And the Rupright, the Dr. Greg Rupright, came in about 1952 to Wells County, and they just loaded up and came, had no land, nothing, just whatever they had in the wagons. And they found a barn to live in temporarily. Now, there's a debate on 2 different historical accounts when that took place, whether it was the spring or the fall. I'm betting in the spring, especially if they were living in a barn where they could find some land and get a house built and all this. The husband was a carpenter, so it would have happened fast. But the barn was actually in Wells County, just about a mile east of where the town of Echo developed, which was a Rupright that laid that out. And then one of the sons. So, and then they were just really, the homestead was only about a half mile on into Preble Township. And but when they came, they actually lived in a barn and probably had no provisions whatsoever other than whatever they had in the wagon. So probably cooking over open fires, and well, you can imagine. And it was still pretty much wilderness. There was enough, because I know that area was developed later than what was around Murray and Bluffton. So there would have been very little people around there. Across down a bit and over near Murray, at that time, it wasn't even New Lancaster. In 1830 was the first pioneer that came. And do all of you, are you aware of the plaque that is placed for the first pioneers in, this is sitting in Lancaster Township, on the west side of the river. So, I'll send this around, you can take a look at it.
Corner of the Rock Creek Road or 300 and 160.
That's not saying that. That's just a map of the town. If you're aware of it, it's just a picture of what I'm talking about. Because that's, what's going to be, not going to be changed, I guess. The Historical Society, I brought this up because it was this group that created a situation to rediscover the fact that that stone and monument is wrong. And although it's been in front of the Historical Society more than once in the history, nobody put the combination together because they didn't deal with the genealogy involved. So it was the genealogy walks that just last year,
I think.
yeah. Because I was given the opportunity to represent a dead person. I finally figured out why that happens all the time. Every year I'm asked, because I'm the deadest looking group. Anyhow, they gave me a half a page to read in 14 or 16 font, which means that was about 3 sentences, which means I would have had about 2 minutes at the most to talk. You can't stop me after 2 minutes. So I started researching. 100 hours later, I was just dumbfounded. And some of you are aware of what I found, but that's when I found out what's on this plaque is wrong. And the fellow that I was representing last year in the cemetery walk, Alan Norcross, was the first landowner of Wells County before it was Wells County, before there was a Murray, before there was a new Lancaster that became Murray, before there was anybody else except the Indian. Imagine what his life and his family. He had a wife when he came in 1830. They birthed a daughter in 1830. They birthed a daughter in 1830 in Wells County, Indiana. This is where they lived in Indiana. And all that is on record in census and things. And the records of where he purchased, the very first date of anybody ever purchasing land is on record, and it has been since he did it. The records are in Fort Wayne. So how did this happen? Well, I know where it happened, and I knew who caused it. It was a man by the name of the Honorable, not so honorable, Newton Burwell. He was an attorney here and in politics and things. He didn't make it as an attorney, so he tried becoming a preacher and served in a church and some other, spoke in some others, served in Austin a little bit. And he didn't make it that easy to find that town looking for something else to try being an attorney somewhere else, and that failed. So failure was part of his life. Yeah, it's a good step too. Because I did a lot of research on him. Because he's the one that did the research that went into the first recording of what these first things were. And he gave the information to a publication 4875. Now the problem was, the information he gave, the publisher then, after that first sentence or paragraph that he presented, that had all these facts, mostly what's on this plaque. He then went on in the second paragraph that everybody seemed to stop reading at that point, and said, then he found out the truth, basically, he said, after he had talked to that fellow, he became aware of Alan Norcross. But then he didn't go ahead and put the details in. And at that time, in 1875, Alan Norcross was still alive, living on the other side of the river, still on that farm, alone. His family was in Texas, was still alive. So part of this plaque, in one way, depending on how you read it, a lot of semantics involved. Basically, I consider it all false. It's all wrong. But, such as Dr. Joseph Knox, it says he was the first white inhabitant. Well, not according to the records. Norcross was here and purchased land before him by the records. And so was he here earlier, just squatting on land? Does that count? If that's the case, there was probably trappers that came through way before either one of them. And the Indians were here, but the Indians, Native Americans, primarily the Miami tribe, had at least 2 villages in Wells County. There was one south of Markle, one in Huntington County, a big one there, and there was an Indian trace that went right through Norcross's property. So they're beginning livelihood in probably in a lean-to shelter to start with. Would have involved these Native Americans going by all the time. That was their main travel right on his side of the river. And the Elizabeth Harvey made the claim that she saw that, and she might have, but she was not the first white child. Now, why that was continued right up to her obituary through that family. Now, if you know where the location is, and the thing, one was on one side of the river, one was in the other. There were spots right in there the river was fordable. They could drove their wagon. So did they know each other when there's only a handful of people? Of course they did. Did they know their children? Of course. Elizabeth Miller was born in 1834, 4 years after Norcross's first child that was born here. Did they not know they had an older child? Did they not know she was born here? They had to have. So why did they keep perpetuating? Again, part of it may be in the semantic, like Henry Miller, who succeeded Joseph Knox. It is true he purchased his property because Knox left when the Indians started fighting and never came back. So he sold to Miller. But that was later, and it claims that he was the first permanent settler. Wrong. Norcross was here in 1930. Or 1830. 1830. Thank you. So anyhow, that's what's being corrected. And I brought this up right after the program last year to the Historical Society and encouraged them to have the Genealogy Society there because this involves both of you. I said, this needs to be published somehow and corrected. And course, then they didn't have any meetings since that was way last year, and then they had Christmas with everybody's help in pulling that off, and then no meetings and bad weather, and then they finally just had a meeting and determined to leave that 1929 stone and brass flag standing. It's historical in itself now. Has some important people, but not exactly true. Now they're saying, let's do a similar thing on the correct side of the river, just across the river. That's where Norcross first purchased. He eventually ended up having a 2-mile stretch along that side of the Wabash, owning that, even right up to almost to when he died in 1879. But so anyhow, as I understand it, they're going to create a new stone or something to hold a new plaque that will give his information on the side where he actually had it. And at that time, more of this information, that'll be a great opportunity to finally call. I've been dying ever since last year's cemetery walk to call Mr. Miller, who I connect with all the time, since I already call him for every week, and say, I think I got a story here that you're gonna like. I know this will be page news. And have kept my mouth shut. He knows nothing. So the best time to do that now is when the Historical Society gets involved and gets a new one created, then they'll want to cover that anyhow, and then the history can come out. I have done another thing, and without going on more than this, I'll just throw this out to all of you to see if you can help get involved, because I'm closer to this issue with genealogy, because if it hadn't been for the genealogy cemetery walk, it still wouldn't be known. So, except it was. Back when that silver book, you know, the one with all the errors, you're aware there's a lot of errors in it, and omissions. But the silver book has the same incorrect information. The funny part about it is, now who was it? The abstract office. Bernals gathered all that information in Fort Wayne, published it, took it out of the script and published another little booklet, gave that to the writers of that historical book for that 70 and 75 and that 76 silver book, what I call it. They had the information right in front of them. And so it was presented to them directly. Did they use it? Yes. His names, because they used all of that information to make a map for every township. They put these sections in there, and within those sections, they wrote the dates that land was purchased and who purchased the land. Alan Norcross is in there in a section, the only one that has the 1930 date. And so they saw it, but again, it went because they weren't genealogists, they were historians. There's a difference. And when you put the two together, you find some amazing things. Right. So anyhow, what I have done, I've been working for since the cemetery walk. Before that, when it was Oakland at Craigville and the town, because that's been my passion most of my life, to write a Craigville book. So I've been working ever since then to write that. And then when I found this Norcross stuff, Norcross died the same year Craigville became a town. The railroad went through. That was big news actually at the same time. And so some of that made connections because of people for the Craigville story, but then I put the Norcross story in a written form in the addendum of the Craigville book. Craigville book is not published. It could be made ready at time. One last step is an everything index, which takes me about 3 or 4 weeks to produce. Right now, I've got about 350 pages of history on Craigville and photos. I was kind of waiting for a couple people to maybe come up that I knew were Craigville nuts like me. Can't have too many Craigville nerds as far as I'm concerned. It's special to me because not only did I live there, 2 different segments of my life. That was my home church. That was the town that was founded by my own ancestors. So lots of connections. But so I would like to see the book published and don't want anything for it, like the last one. So, my preference is some way to make a connection with genealogy and historical society and get that published. I believe strongly that that could be done at 0 cost, including printing, to the organization. I believe that we can very easily find donors to cover the cost of the printing. And if I believe I can lay it out so it's ready to go directly to a printer ahead of time, so anyhow, think about that. I told a couple of people about this, and Jim knows about it, and the problem with this organization, I don't believe you are an official tax deductible organization. So it would have to be a combination of the Historical Society and Genealogy to sponsor it. And then the people that make the donations to cover the printing, to make it free to you to get whatever you charge for the book. You charge printing costs, you still get it all back as free money because you didn't have to invest in it. And I think you've used foundation before, they would probably contribute. I think there's businesses, there's several. Craigville's an amazing little town. There are a handful of multi-million-dollar businesses still functioning out of Craigville. And so I think through them, because they have such a long history of the town, that I think we could get the contributors to make sure that the costs are all covered. So when the books arrive, it's all free money for genealogy and historical society. So if you work together, we divide it up, or that would cover the cost of your dues for many, many years. So anyhow, think about that as an organization, different people, because I don't want to do the book myself. If it's left to me, if I can't find somebody willing to grab it and make money off of it, then I will print out 2 copies, one for the Historical Society and one for the library here, like I usually do with my books. But I would love to see one in print. And I think that can easily be done at 0 cost. So that's my proposal, my offer to you. And now, since there's no questions, the food's ready. I will answer questions, but get me up if you get any questions.
Back on the class, so I had to leave last meeting early. So they voted to make a new plan, find the rock.
What we discussed.
I just found out this morning.
What we had discussed was we had looked at the one at Norfolk, the one that he showed us. And one of the problems with it, see, we discussed putting another plaque on that rock. And when you look at it, it's really going to, the way it's shaped is not a good way. The flat surface is really taken up with that whole plaque. And the bottom kind of angles in, the sides, so you couldn't put one, if you put it on the bottom, it'd be too far low, you couldn't really read it. And so after the discussion was made, then they were discussed about, we discussed about putting one beside them. And which is pretty limited because it's really closer. I mean, you hit your vehicle and you make a turn. You turn too short, can't you? So, the last thing, and I know we discussed that meeting with, and I know Jim and them thought was, why not put a new plaque with the correct information on the farm across the river? Which is actually that if you go on 300, it's out there, the plot on the south would be that there's a little field there on the south. It'd be east of the bridge before you get to 116. There's a little field there, and it's to the south. And you could do there or the other side of the road, which I don't know if any of you ever noticed, but the old former bridge for 116 is there along the highway. That was part of it too. So we could put it on either corner. Depending on what, I don't know what kind of regulations is.
According to my research and calculations, the rock that's there now is not even on land that Knox ever owned.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's on the wrong corner. It's close.
So, what's the time?
I don't know, last I knew, we kind of talked about that, and Jim was gonna look into what I think costing that right, and then he look into what it'd be. Huh? I told, Alan, the one on the, which would be the ideal one, is on the south or on the east side next to the river, that field, but then that, as far as I know, Jack Roller family still owns that. And they would, that's it, to get in that field, they go in that corner there with their machinery. So I don't know, we may have to, the other side of that might be better. I don't know, it's something I'll have to look into, check to. Who owns it?
From that crossing there at the bridge, south of Murray, Norcross, his first purchase, first land was on both sides of what's now 116. And it kind of went down one quarter section, everything up against the river.
So you said that actually went about 2 miles south.
Eventually, he owned the property from there all the way down to the port. At one point, and when he died, people were digging and running all over his place trying to find his money. Because they knew he was rich, that he was a recluse, and they finally found it. But he had about $13,000 in bonds in basically what it was is in the smokehouse. Newspaper called him out about this. A smokehouse where he kept his buckets because he had a tapped tree syrup as well, did all kinds of things. And so he had bonds hidden in there, he had buried money, but he had told, his neighbor, Peter Studebaker, who became the administrator, where that was at, so it's cash. And, but he was very, very wealthy at the time. And when he died, there was no local family with him. But he had one of the largest funeral processions to the Murray Cemetery that they had ever seen. And they lined them up with the local neighbors being the first ones in the entourage when they were taking him out there. And the funny part of it, a lot of those were part of the same family that perpetuated the story that it was their child, and they owned first land, and they still, and Norcross was still there while they were doing it. So, I got no reasons why I think they wanted the notoriety. Didn't want him to have it. There were some negative parts of his life. And that might have been part of it, but I also did a lot of research on the Millers and the Harveys, and there was some negative people in there too. So,
Colin, you mentioned there earlier that Norcross had, his wife and kids went to Texas then?
he moved with them in the 40s.
Oh, he did?
40s, and that's why the military might complain that, well, he wasn't a continuous resident. Well, he did move out and then came back, but he never gave up the land. And so he was still the owner, so how do you interpret that for history? That's the question. So the only thing you can do is put it all out there, all the information out there, and he had some negatives. When he was in Texas, he owned a slave. That was acceptable then. That was a part of it. That also meant he was very wealthy down there. And so anyhow, I did 90 hours of research. Don't want to get me started. So I didn't put all of that in the book. I tried to condense it, but it's been fascinating to find that out. Except I thought I had the opportunity to share a little bit here because, like I said, it was genealogy caused it to be refound, and now it needs to be addressed and corrected. So, depending on semantics, well, who was the original landowner? There's no doubt about that. Who had the first white child? It was Norcross again. There's no doubt about it. And so there's just some things that were just wrong, and other things that on how you look at it. Who was a resident? Who was just a squatter? But I go by records, land records. That's what makes you a resident. Anyhow, any other questions?
That's another question.
Need a prayer?
Yeah.
Is that typical? I usually don't come to these food things.
You want to give?
Well, I'll handle that if you want.
That'd be great.
Lord, we thank you for this organization, the people that run it and are involved in it, and the work that they do. And we know that we are a generation, most of us, that are older, and younger generations within our families don't seem to have the interest, but eventually they probably will, and it will be our work that you are allowing us to do and helping us with that will be passed on. And we thank you for your help in that. We thank you for blessing this food we're about to partake of, and keep us all safe as we travel home. In your name we pray, Jesus Christ. Amen and amen.
Yes, lady. Mine.
Well, we'll close this part of the Zoom. Hope to join you later for May.
Thank you, Thomas.
Oops.
Somebody's out dinner.
Yep.